Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Love Makes a Way with Jennifer and Beth. We had a really wonderful conversation today with actually somebody really important to me, my mom, Karen Minnis. She was a Speaker of the House in the state of Oregon in the early 2000s and also worked for Oregon Right to Life. So we are talking about the culture of death and how to create a culture of life within a culture of death state. So we got to talk about politics today and how you can each have an impact.
Yeah. And I learned a lot. And I think that you're going to learn a lot too about how your voice absolutely matters. And it's just going to be a delight. So enjoy.
Welcome to Love Makes a Way. You are listening to Jennifer Hoffman, founder and president of Life Options Network, and Beth Reynolds. On this podcast, we talk about creating a culture of life and how you can create that culture in your community. We hope that you listen and are encouraged. Well, welcome everybody back to the Love Makes a Way podcast. You guys, I get to interview someone very important to me, somebody who I have a lot of respect for, who has spent a lot of years advocating for kingdom culture in some pretty dark spaces. And that person is my mom. Her name is Karen Minnis. She was the Oregon Speaker of the House in the early 2000s and also worked for Oregon Right to Life. And so today we are going to talk about the culture of death, which is a really hard topic, but I think something that really matters in regards to our podcast, why we have Life Options Network, and the importance of creating a culture of life within your own community. And so welcome to the show, Karen.
Yes,
Thanks
welcome.
for having me.
So happy to have you on here. So you've been out of office for a couple of decades now. You've
Yes.
been retired, but you've been walking with me for a number of years, working to help with Life Options Network, bringing local support in Washington and now in Oregon in order to bring care to moms and babies in need. But a lot of my passion really stemmed from conversations that I would have with you, I think even in my early 20s, and learning about just the intensity of the pro-choice movement in those regions. So let's talk about all that. But
Yes.
before we get into all that, can you tell our audience how you even got into politics
Right.
and, back in the 80s to begin with?
It's fascinating.
Well, in a nutshell, your dad came home and said to me, honey, I think I'm going to run for office. And Jenny, I was actually pregnant with you.
Yes.
And so my comment to him at the time was, that's fine. You go run for office not knowing anything about anything. You go run for office. I'm going to have a baby.
Yeah.
So that was my mindset. I was not educated about what all of that meant. And probably had I known what all of that meant, I probably would have run the other way.
Yeah.
But God has a way of taking us on journeys that we don't always know what the outcome is. So basically he ran, lost the first time, and I was very happy about that. But then he ended up being appointed. The gentleman that beat him was recalled from office, and then my husband John was appointed to the seat. And so I went down as staffed his office because he had an unpaid leave of absence from his employer at the time. So I needed to go work with him so, we could pay the bills, because I think the pay at the time was $700 a month. So anyway, I started the journey. He was term limited out after 7 terms, and then I ran in his place and became, I was a member in my freshman year. I became the majority leader in my second year and became the Speaker of the House in my third year, and the third term rather. And the reason that went so quickly is we had term limits at the time. So it went very quickly. And so I served as Speaker of the House in 2003 session and also the 2005 session.
Okay. So tell us about how it was when John, my dad, first got into office when it came to the life issue. So it was 1984. What was it like when it came to unborn babies in the state of Oregon at that time? Was it something that was heavy on your guys' minds, or did that kind of show up later for you?
I think it was, well, I know it was something we cared deeply about. When he was appointed to the seat, we were in the minority. So
Right.
our ability to move anything and to make changes at that time was no, very limited. No hearings on any bills. You could introduce a bill and it just get killed in committee.
Right.
But nonetheless, you continue to try to influence the other members you work with,
Mm-hmm.
and doesn't mean it didn't stop you from testifying for or against a particular issue.
Sure.
But as we started out, our his influence was limited at that time.
Sure. And so then you jumped into being the speaker and getting into lobbying for Oregon Right to Life, all of these things. Uh, what was it like in terms of, I know Planned Parenthood lobbied down there, and there was, they had all sorts of agendas, and even within the schools. What was it like coming face to face with people that had the complete opposite opinion of you? And can you just kind of give us some examples of that encounter and why it's so important for people to understand the importance of their vote and the importance of their engagement in the political, especially in these states
Right.
where the culture of death is so prevalent?
Yeah. And sorry, before you answer that, I think it's a really common feeling or thought process that, in some of these states, oh, it's too far gone. Like, I'm just not
Mhm.
even going to bother
Yep.
to get involved, or I'm not going to bother to vote because it's not going to do anything. It's like a
Mhm.
pebble against the tide.
Right. So help the audience, I guess, understand, why is it so important given your experience, even in the early 2000s, and then the laws now. I mean, a state of Oregon, it's up to birth. You can have an abortion.
Right.
If you're 15 years old, you can get an abortion without parents' parental consent.
Wow.
So talk about that. Talk about your encounter with trying to impact the people that were promoting these issues, and then why now it still matters for people to engage.
Well, at that time, just to give you a little context, we had a Republican-controlled House, but a Democrat-controlled Senate
Mm,
and a Democrat governor. So our ability to move legislation through a Democrat Senate was pretty much stifled.
mhm.
But thus, the reverse was true. If they wanted to move something through the House, we were able to stop some pretty bad things.
Sure.
So that's the context I was working with.
Wow.
So it's the ability to move things at my time serving there was very limited, but you could have an influence. I want to just encourage people to not be wary in well doing.
Yeah.
Your vote matters so much. Um, you think it doesn't make any difference, but I'm here to tell you there were races in the state of Oregon that were lost by 10
Mm,
votes, by
Wow.
20 votes.
yeah.
So please, don't be discouraged. You stay the course at the very, very least. Register to vote and vote. And then there are certain articles or certain voter guides that will kind of give you the position of where certain candidates are. So you can, Oregon Right to Life issues one. So you can actually look up candidates and figure out where they are on the issues you care about.
Sure.
If you don't want to research every particular issue or every particular candidate,
Mhm.
the other thing you can do, if you're really ambitious, is look at their voting record. If they're an incumbent and they're running for reelection, then look at how they voted on the things you care about.
Right.
Yes.
So that's just kind of, but please, please, please don't say it doesn't matter. They're going to be in control forever. When John was in the House, I think the Democrats had been in control of the House for 20 years.
Mhm.
And while he was there, it flipped to Republican.
Mhm.
So don't think that this is lost and hopeless. It's
Right.
not. and don't disengage, because the engagement of citizens is so important, particularly today, because things have gone so far left. We need to try to have our voice heard,
Right.
and be out there, engage, and vote.
Yeah. So, what was it like with Planned Parenthood directly? Do you have any stories around kind of trying to get them to help women, change their mind, anything like that?
I had one encounter. It was when I was lobbying at the time. And, one of the things they would always talk about, it's for the women. And we're doing this for the women. Uh, and I walked up to their lobbyist for Planned Parenthood at the time. And I said to her, if you guys really, really want to help women, I'm sure we could partner with you in some efforts to, let's see what we can do to help women improve their
Mm-hmm.
lives, and get them the help they need. And I was met with a dead eye stare.
Mm.
That's what I called
Hmm.
it. Uh, no, it was kind of a dead eye smirk stare that said to me, that was not what they were interested in at
Yeah,
all. So that was kind of the prevailing uh, attitude at the time. And so but you just keep going. You don't let that stop you. You just keep pushing forward.
absolutely. What kept you guys in for so long? I know the fight was fierce in terms of, many years, decades in the Oregon House. What were some victories that just, really encouraged you guys like to keep going and to keep being involved and to keep
Right.
encouraging the church to be involved as well?
Right. You mentioned that you were able to stop a lot of, you know, unsavory things.
Yeah.
But what were some of the victories too?
Yes. Uh, I think through the budgeting process, we were able to trim some things. Now, remember, the Ways and Means Committee is both House and Senate. It's a joint committee. So while we couldn't, totally cut things that they wanted to fund, we could certainly uh, cut back
Mm-hmm.
how much was going in certain
Sure.
directions. So it's things like that you can really have an impact on. And sometimes it's just the ability to have a hearing on an issue. Uh, my first term, we had the Lacey bill, which is uh, a woman that was killed by her husband when she was, I think she was 8 months or pregnant. And he was convicted for killing her. And in doing that, the baby died.
Mm-hmm.
And so I introduced a bill that would recognize that child as an individual
Mm-hmm.
in the womb. And California at the time actually had that provision that if you killed a pregnant woman, you could also be prosecuted for uh, killing the baby as well.
Yes.
So I introduced that bill, and actually, Lacey Peterson's father came and testified on that bill in front of the committee. Uh, we moved the bill, and it died in the Senate. But at the very least, people got to hear uh, kind of that story and the ability. Oregon at that time don't recognize the baby. I don't like to call it a fetus; it's a
Yes.
baby, as an individual. And even now, of course, since I've gone, there's been Katie bar the door. There are no guidelines. Um, there's nothing. You you can do whatever you want. You can go have an abortion the day before your due date.
Crazy.
You can. I mean,
Yeah.
there is no. They have removed any kind of
Mm-hmm.
protections, and even they've gone to the extent that when Bolton was overruled in the federal government, they said they codified abortion in Oregon statutes, women's abortion in statute, and even said those states that had um, uh, outlawed abortion or put any restrictions on abortion, they said, come to Oregon. Uh, there's no residency statutes. You can just come here, have an abortion. We'll pay for it. And Katie barred the door. And I don't know the specific stats. I didn't have time to research that, but I know that they made it. So anybody in the United States, you don't have to be a citizen. You don't have to be a resident of Oregon. You can just come here and have your abortion.
I did a little research on this today, and they had about 9,000 telehealth abortions, and that's where you get the pill.
Explain that. So they send you the abortion pill through telehealth.
So if I'm correct, you get your appointment, you find out you're pregnant, here's a pill. And these women go home and they deliver this dead baby at home.
What a traumatizing experience.
Yeah. And that's the culture of death. And right now, that's what the abortion industry has been pushing, because it has an agenda there where access to their facilities is becoming less and less via the Roe v. Wade and all of these things being disbanded. But the abortion numbers are still going up because they're skirting around the states that are closing it down through the telehealth. And like Karen was saying, the states that are willing to pay for women to come in and do this. And so it's this incredible culture of death, even going into, and I don't want to take too much time on this, but euthanasia, which I know you spoke about a little bit when you were working for Organ Right to Life. The devaluation of people within culture and family within culture, where, if somebody gets a terminal illness, they'll say, if the doctor says 6 months, then they encourage the person to just be done. Did you combat that at all in Organ Right to Life, and how was that received?
I did. When death was, they called it death with dignity. When that was passed, they actually put sideboards on, and you had to meet certain criteria. You had to make sure there wasn't depression involved in that decision. You had to be in concert with the physician. So they put strong sideboards on there. Well, surprise! All those sideboards have been removed now. You can come from another state, and if you decide that you want to end your life, then you can end your life. No problem. There's no sideboards. I was when I was working as a lobbyist, there was a bill that was introduced, and what the bill said is, if a retirement center has a resident that has no family contacts, and they're non-communicative, then the physician, a nurse, and the hospital administrator could come together and vote or decide, I guess that's a better way to put it, decide to end this person's life. Then the bill would, there was protections built in the bill that they could not be sued. They didn't have to go report to anybody. This is a decision that can be made by the administration of the care home. And we successfully killed that bill while I was there. But what they do is they just come back and then eventually pass something similar. I know they did some adjusting to it, but that was scary. And I actually had a bill that I introduced at the time that would have required insurance company to give senior citizens the same amount of care that a younger person has. That, if you've got somebody elderly, just because they're elderly doesn't mean they shouldn't deserve the same kind of care that somebody in their 40s or 50s get. Every insurance company that was available at the time came in and testified against that bill. Wow. So there is a, they have a chart, and once you reach a certain age, then it's expensive to give you the same level of care as someone that's younger. It's that was interesting.
Horrible, because you see the slippery slope of devaluation of humans in general.
Mhm.
And, if it's unborn babies, then it's adults, then it's, whoever. And it really goes back to that nihilistic anti-God view brought in by Margaret Sanger, and obviously some of she obviously inspired Hitler as well with her work, which was all about how certain people shouldn't be born, all of that.
Yeah.
But when you look at all of that, this is the fruit today.
Right.
Over 63 million unborn lives lost. I'm sure hundreds of thousands of people lost to euthanasia. So you've got this culture of death. And obviously at our stores, Life Options Network, we're saying, hey, you know what? Let's talk about how you can,
Yes.
and that you have value, that it matters that you have this child, and also here's a huge leg up, here's a huge help. We don't do everything for these women. We make sure we have certain things that we walk them through, and they can choose. They can choose to take that mentorship or not. But the opportunity for life, especially in states like Oregon and in Washington, where, gosh, I think Oregon was 325 late-term abortions in 2024, which was kind of crazy to me.
Oh,
So just thinking about this kind of rare and all that stuff, that's not rare. That's
right.
little tiny humans.
Mhm.
We need to unify, I think, the pro-life movement in these states. We need to unify the church to begin to understand the importance of their impact. I mean, think about 10, 20 votes, like 10 people from the church just decided their vote wasn't worth it. And the cost of that is hundreds of thousands and millions of lives over time when we as the church become
Mhm.
apathetic and uninterested in the political, because we're like, oh, well, that's for those people to do.
Yeah.
But it really is so important that we're engaged. So talk about a little bit, because I know Karen, you've been walking with me as your daughter for the last almost 9 years now, doing Life Options Network. For you, why was it important to join this cause specifically? And what has it given you hope, I guess, for those regions in supporting the work we do to support moms and babies?
One of the things we always were told is, oh, all you guys care about is making sure the woman has a baby. And then after the baby's born, you
Right.
abandon her. And I joined this organization, Life Options Network, is because you stepped up and said, you know what? We're going to help these women after they
Yeah.
have the baby. We're going to come alongside and we're going to give them the diapers. We're going to give them the wipes. We're going to give them clothes. We're going to give them support. And it was such, to me, a refreshing answer to that
Yeah.
criticism, because you said this is our
Mhm.
mission. You don't have to go have an abortion. We will
Yeah.
help you, and it's done out of care and concern for those
Hmm.
women. And so that's why I joined the cause. It was the
Hmm.
answer to that specific
Yeah.
criticism that, hey, we're here. We're going to help you. We're going to equip you. We're going to try to help you. We're going to help you find housing. We're going to help you get clothes
Right.
for your kids. It was, that was the answer. And that's why
I
I
love that.
joined.
Yes.
Do you think that just from your experience from watching the last 30 years, do you think that the pro-life movement is unified? And what can we do to bring more unity within the pro-life cause? And even, and two questions, and then the unity, and then also the church and engaging the church to do more in this area from your perspective.
The pro-life cause, there's different
Sure.
callings for they each have a different
Mm-hmm.
thing they do. So you got the crisis pregnancy centers, you have Oregon Right to Life, you have Life Options Network, and they may focus on different specific
Mm-hmm.
issues, but the overarching cause is to help women
Mm-hmm.
and to make a culture in which they can not just have their babies, but
Yeah.
Yes.
thrive and know the joy of raising a child. And I think sometimes it's easy to get in your particular box and feel uh, like, well, I'm doing this thing and I don't want to have competition over here, so I'm going to just keep
Right.
doing my thing. But I have found that when people come together and put the differences aside and focus on the
Yep.
main thing, you've heard that, the main thing. Why are
Yep.
we doing this? We're doing this to help women and support women and make sure they have what they need so the alternative decision
Yep.
isn't made. And if you can keep your eye on that, you can
Yep.
get a lot done. But that takes talking to each other and just kind of putting your own
Agendas. Yep.
agenda aside. Yeah. As far as the churches are concerned, you know, I had a conversation with a pastor, and this is not while I was in office, it was afterwards. And we were talking, and they said to me, you know, we can't talk about politics in our church because, you know, we have too many Republicans or we have too many Democrats, and that would just cause all kinds of problems. We can't even discuss it. And, you know, I looked at them and I said, you know what? You don't talk party, you talk
Yeah.
principles. And so you can teach your congregation about social mores that are just, you know, that align with the
Yes.
Bible. You can just talk about. You can talk about. They say, "Oh, we can't talk about abortion." Well, you know what? What does the Bible say about the
Right.
value of life? What does the Bible say about, you know, you were
Yep.
formed in the mother's womb? But you don't couch it in terms of
Right.
Republican, Democrat. You couch it in terms of
Yes.
principle. And then, you know, I've heard of a pastor that just said, well, this is what the party says, this is their platform. This is this party's platform. Didn't say which one. And this is this
Right.
party's platform. Which more aligns
Yeah.
with your beliefs? And I thought that was rather masterful because that challenged the congregation to do a little research, which isn't
Right.
difficult, but didn't make it a partisan
Yeah.
discussion. And so and it's imperative that church people get involved. They're not, I'm going to tell you this, after this weekend and watching the protests that came into a church, into a Baptist church, and came in the middle of service and interrupted the service and had a demonstration that took over the
Yep.
whole service. That's kind of a
Yep.
first breach. So I think that's going to happen probably
Sure.
again. So I believe that if you think you can just be in your church and say, I'm just going to be over here and not engage, that somehow you're not going to be drawn into this at some point. I think that's a
Yeah.
misguided thought, because this weekend it was very relevant, very clear that'll be the next step. So I don't think churches are going to be able to just say, well, you know, we don't
Right.
do politics. Well, they're going to do
Yes.
politics to you. So just know that you know, disengaging does not mean you're always affected. Churches are always, what people don't understand, churches are affected by the laws that are passed in your state and in your
Yes.
federal government.
Yep.
You are affected regardless, whether
Yep.
you engage or not. And that's why it's so critical that people get involved, stay involved,
Yes.
vote, and get your neighbors to vote. It
Yeah.
matters. 10
Amen.
votes matter.
And I think it's just so encouraging how you started this whole political process. I mean, when your husband decided to run, you were just a mom, just a pregnant mom. And that's really encouraging for me because I don't
Yes.
have any political background. My family doesn't. I'm just a mom. But we can learn hard things.
Yes.
We can learn to research topics and candidates. We
Yep.
can learn how to research
Mhm.
voting records. I mean, we have so much education and information at our fingertips. And so just taking out the excuses that, oh, I'm just a mom. I don't
Yeah.
even know anything about politics and I'm not going to bother to get into that. I think it's so inspiring that you chose to say yes.
Yes.
Well, it's been a journey. And, you do things and walk with grace of God in your life. And Jenny was raised in that atmosphere. And so I think that's helped her be the warrior she is
so.
today. Because and Beth, you coming alongside and saying, I'm going to join you in this effort is so critical because it adds another voice to
Absolutely.
the fight. So thank you both for doing what you're doing. I'm very
Thank
proud.
you.
of
Well,
both.
thank you, Mama Karen, for being on here with us today and sharing and helping people understand the value of their voice and their vote. We're gonna just keep on with the fight and see what happens. So have a beautiful day.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.